afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the KBISNeXT stage, KBIS 2018. I'm your stage host, Leanne Wood. We have a great panel coming up. It's called Secrets of Smart Remodeling, and honestly, a killer panel. So I'm glad to see that all of the seats are full in the house. Such a hot topic. First of all, I'm going to introduce the moderator for the panel. I've known Dan for many years. We actually first met on Twitter, weird thing. And then after, in real life, many times at many industry events. Dan is an experienced speaker and thought leader in the real estate, remodeling, and home product space. He joined HomeAdvisor in 2017 as the company's smart home strategist, overseeing all content related to smart homes and the Internet of Things, I guess is how you explain that. Prior to joining HomeAdvisor, Dan was the senior home editor of Consumer Reports, where most of us in the industry actually met Dan. He was also the senior associate editor of Martha Stewart Living and the associate editor of This Old House. He's been featured on CBS This Morning, Fox News, The Today Show, and Wall Street Journal Live. Dan, as I said, you have probably one of the hottest topics in the industry right now. You've got an amazing panel that you'll introduce. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Dan DiClerico. And I think we're going to ask the rest of our panel to come up and have a seat too as Dan introduces them.
Okay. Leanne, thank you so much. Well, hey, how's everybody doing? Leanne, thanks again for that introduction. Once again, yes, Dan DiClerico with HomeAdvisor. I'm the home expert and smart home strategist, as Leanne said, with HomeAdvisor, who is once again a very proud sponsor of the next stage. So I hope everyone's having a exciting and information-packed start to KBIS, one that's really going to help you grow your businesses in 2018. After all, that's really the purpose of the show and very much the spirit of today's panel, to arm you with the latest information around smart home technology so that you can go out and create spaces that are efficient and functional and of course, beautiful. There's a lot going on in the smart home space. You all probably heard about the record holiday season for smart home products. Amazon's Echo Dot was in fact the top-selling product on the Amazon website, which is kind of incredible. This product that didn't even exist just a few years ago is, you know, outselling video games and vacuum cleaners and other hot holiday products. That was enough for Mashable to declare that, quote, the smart home is finally here. So at HomeAdvisor, we had a sense of that even before the holiday blitz. Back in September, we released a smart home report based on a survey that we fielded along with CEDIA, the trade group for home automation. There were a lot of juicy findings in that survey, but maybe the juiciest for me was this, that 3 out of 4 pros say they've gotten more smart home related calls in the last year, and the vast majority are receiving service requests at least once a month, if not weekly or even daily. So that really gets to the crux of today's talk. I think smart home 1.0, maybe even 2.0, we're often positioned as a do-it-yourself option or solution. But as the technology matures and becomes a truly whole house experience, I think we're seeing more and more homeowners and consumers coming to professionals for help with the installation of their systems and the ongoing maintenance. So how do we give them the best possible experience? So to unpack that question, we've pulled together this superb panel of professionals who I will now introduce briefly. On the end, we have Jamie Briesmeister. Jamie's the co-founder of Integration Controls, a home automation company based in St. Louis. She's also an active volunteer in CEDIA, teaching classes and serving on various task force. So she brings the insights and the perspective of the technologist or the custom installer, as they're sometimes known. For sort of the broader design perspective, we have Adam Gibson. Adam is a certified master kitchen and bath designer based in Indianapolis. Adam is also a certified aging in place specialist. So I think it'll be interesting to hear how the technology is playing out across different generations. Next, we have Scott Kohler, president of Dream Kitchen Builders in North Carolina. Scott is a professional designer as well as a technology consultant. He's written extensively on all things tech-related and consults with startups on aspects like cloud computing. So we'll look to him to help kind of bridge the gap between design and technology. And last but not least, we have Jill Waggy, editor-in-chief at Traditional Home, part of Meredith Corporation in Des Moines. So from her media perch, Jill will give us that big picture view of the home design landscape and where technology fits into it. And she can also help us understand how the story of the smart home is being played out in today's media. So that's us. Who are you? Who's out there? Is it, by show of hands, are designers? Are you all designers? Yep, a number of designers. Architects, contractors, manufacturers. Great. Okay, so we have a real mix here. That's excellent. So before we jump into the discussion, we have just a quick little show and tell, which I'll confess, this idea was kind of inspired by the fact that I just completed a renovation of my home in New York, and I'm still not tired of talking about it. So we thought we would all kind of share some projects. But more seriously, smart technology can be difficult to talk about because you don't often see it. So just getting a sense of the different types of homes that is possible. So this is my my home in as I said, in Brooklyn, New York. It was featured in Architectural Digest on their Clever channel, which was a nice sort of recognition of the design. But as I wrote on the HomeAdvisor website, it's kind of the technology that really makes the house special, at least for me. So for example, we had, you can't see a lot of this, but we had the walls opened up, so we were able to create a hidden compartment for the high-speed internet router and really all of the components. So I have music in every room and the entertainment system without really any wires anywhere, which is really great. When people ask me what my favorite smart product is, I always say the smart smoke and CO alarms, which we put in. I'm on the road a lot, so just the peace of mind that product gives me, knowing that my wife and kids are safe from fire and carbon monoxide when I'm away, is really makes that one of my favorite features. So as I said, old house, new tricks. This is an 1882 brownstone that we were able to bring these modern technologies and conveniences to. Okay, so I've talked enough. I'm gonna move us forward. I think we're gonna go from Jamie on down. So go ahead, Jamie. Show us what we're looking at here.
Yeah, sure. The large picture there, the total control throughout the home, that was a historic home that has gone through multiple renovations. They were actually our first home automation client when we first started our business 13 years ago, and we've gone through and updated over time. We put in invisible speakers in her kitchen. They're truly built into the drywall platform, so you don't see them at all, and that's one of the things she loves the most about her space. But really what even started their journey into home automation was a bank of light switches that was about that long, I think about 10 of them, on a column in the center of the kitchen, and she said, how can we remove these? I hate them. So we started with lighting control, we added some music, we made it simple to use back then, before smartphones and tablets existed, and now they run everything with a tablet, which is great. Lighting control is one of passions of myself and the people within our company, mostly because it's something that we live with and touch every day, as opposed to music or televisions, which you might not touch every day, and having smart connected lighting really adds a lot to a home's value. In the lower left picture there, it's a bathroom television. It's not a television with a mirror in front of it, kind of fabricated on site. It's a purpose-built piece. And the homeowners really love it because when it's not in use, the TV just totally fades away. So.
Great. Thanks, Jamie. Okay, Adam, over to you.
Well, as designers, I know we like to get rid of that, what we call the wall acne, the 10 gang light switches and all kinds of other things that we find on our walls. So what I liked about all three of these projects is that there's very little of that. There are keypads where we need to have lighting controls so they can have multiple lights, multiple scenes can be controlled. Also, I pretty much try to put a stand desk in every kitchen if there's room. So all three of these have some form of a stand desk where people can plug in or put their laptop or their computer. Some people just keep a dedicated computer on their stand desk. But there's always a charging station in that area too. So all the gadgets. In my house, I have 2 kids, me and 2 kids, 19 wireless gadgets. Sometimes they're being used, seems like all at once, it's crazy. But they all get charged in one place and kind of out of sight and out of mind. That's me.
Thanks, Adam. Oh, sorry. Okay, Scott.
Thank you. I'd like to add on to what Jamie and Adam are saying as far as lighting. For kitchen designers, I think that lighting is the gateway drug to smart kitchens. And the reason I think that is because kitchen designers have been doing lighting for a long time. And as part of our process, it's part of what we do, is the lighting. So adding smart lighting seems like a really logical step to me. And I just add it right into my design build process. So when I go into design, I sign a design agreement, and separate from my contract, and my design agreement includes smart items like lighting, where I'm basically putting things on the table, showing them ideas, putting prices in front of them, and whatever things they choose, then we move that on in as we go into a full-blown contract. This is actually Hayfla lighting, and I've been using Hayfla lighting for the past couple of years. This is their Looks lighting program, and they're all ribbons, and the ribbons are set in channels, and the channels have milk lenses, and they're dimmable, and they're remote controllable too. So for this system, for this kitchen right here, and you can see as you turn the corner a little bit more on the picture with the wires hanging down, my cost on all the materials from Hayfla was $500 for this. And so I've certainly spent a lot more money than that lighting up a kitchen before, but I've never been able to light up a kitchen this well. So if you notice, you can see the bottoms of the shelves. And I've never been able to light up the interior of a cabinet where I could see the bottoms of the shelves. So the picture on the bottom right is really, what I intended to show with this is a plug-and-play system. So this is plug-and-play technology, meaning if you've ever set up a Christmas tree, you could set up these lights. And my cabinet installers are actually doing this installation. They're setting it up in advance before they actually hide the wires and tuck everything away to make everything's work, and they're testing it out. Remember, this has a receiver, and it's on a remote control, and the next step is we're going to make it voice controlled. So, and Hayfla now has an app, and I just found this out a couple weeks ago and haven't been able to play with it on one of my projects yet. But so, I think that's a good place to start a conversation in the kitchen is with the lighting, and it's going to be even smarter, I think, once we get voice control. Those are 3 separate circuits, one for the glass cabinets, one for the under cabinets, and one for the toe space. And I've got them turned up pretty high right there, but you can set a lot of different moods with it, and you can program scenes as well. I think it's just a great add-on. And I just want to mention, I did a project a couple years ago, and I think my cost for the kitchen was a couple $1,000s, but then the builder came to me and wanted to do the whole house with it, so it added on about another $8,000 to my contract, and it was just materials. I just moved the materials on, and they managed it from there. So it was just a really great add-on to a contract I already had. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I was at the Hayflow booth this morning seeing that app. It's worth checking out. It's very cool. And as we were saying backstage, I love this picture with the wires because you get that it's not by magic that this stuff happens.
Yeah, and also, Hayflow just introduced a battery-powered kit of LEDs. So if you want to do a piece of furniture and it's not, you don't want to hardwire it, you just want to, light up the interior of a hutch that's not attached to the wall or anything, easy to do.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool
great.
stuff.
Okay, Jill. Oops. There we go.
Before I became the editor of Traditional Home within this last year, I was at Better Homes and Gardens for many decades before that. And we saw all of this emerging technology coming here at the Kitchen and Bath Show, as well as by attending CES. And so we started incorporating smart home technology questions into an annual survey that we do of our readers. And I became sort of like the resident smart technology nerd on the staff, and started going to CES and learning what all this meant. And what I saw in the survey was that our consumers really, their main focus, their main purpose, and their understanding of smart technology was around safety and security, and then around entertainment. And because it was anything that you used to have an analog control for. So you had the little plastic jiggers you set on your lights. And you had, you knew you could program your VCR back in the day. Those kinds of things they understood you could control. But when we asked them about other things that you could control throughout other rooms of your home, their knowledge level fell into the single-digit responses. So we kind of took that upon ourselves as a chance to really educate consumers about what smart home really means, and we didn't want it to be scary. We wanted it to be attainable so that average mass America, for the Better Homes and Gardens reader, could get ideas from that. And we chose to build an innovation home. So we built it from the ground up. And these are a few shots from that house. And our whole goal was that you actually would see the technology because, as we've all said, it's invisible. You don't know that it's really there. So we incorporated the technology even into the bedroom. So it has one of the smart beds from Sleep Number that will help give you feedback on how well you are sleeping, that can help improve your health. The windows in the entire house were from Pella, and they have all of those motorized shades built into the windows where you can program it on a timer, or you can control them all from wherever you are on your app for energy savings and sunlight control and privacy and security. They also recharge by solar panels, which is really, really smart. In the bathroom, we had a bathtub that you actually plugged in your iPod or your smartphone to it, and the water would pulse in your soaking tub to the beat of the music. So you could chill out to somebody or like rock with Lady Gaga, whatever your form of relaxation was, and those pulses came through the water instead of jets. In the shower, you could program it so that when you were your person coming into the shower, you hit your button, it was your temperature, it was your combination of body sprays. It was all customized. The kitchen faucet, you could tap on it with your wrist to keep your sticky fingers off of it. Smart home locks. We wanted to really show how you can live with these things. They can all sync together with a simple system. And we really take it from that point where you're making your life better. We start with what's that rough spot, what's that challenge, what's that little niggling irritation in your day that repeats over and over again, and try to approach building a home from that. And that's the perspective we edit through a lot at the Meredith magazines.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. I hope that gives you all out there a sense of the possibilities here. I mean, any type of home, any type of need can really be addressed, I think, today with this technology. I often say there's not a home in America, at this point, that can't benefit from the technology in some way. So with that, let's kind of jump into the conversation now. So I've got some questions for the panelists, but by all means, we'll leave some time at the end for a proper Q&A. But if you have a burning question, just throw your hand up. We'll definitely take it. So, Jamie, I want to start with you, and I want to go back to the survey that our two groups collaborated on, Cedia and HomeAdvisor. There were as I said, a lot of really interesting findings. But another one was kind of on the fact just how quickly smart technology is becoming really intrinsic to remodeling, on the whole. More than half of survey respondents report doing smart home installations as part of a larger project, et cetera, et cetera. So help us out here. How is the integrator now like the electrician, as sort of essential as that trade, or is it more like a lighting designer, sort of a nice to have? Talk us through that, and also at what point, what point do you engage as the integrator, or does the homeowner need to sort of become aware that you exist and your service and expertise is out there?
Sure. All great questions, so I'll try to remember all of them.
Yeah, that was a lot. Sorry.
No, feel free to remind me if I get off track here. First, when to start with a home technology professional? As soon as you have a project, truly. I love the idea of incorporating it on every project. To me, that makes complete sense. We wouldn't talk about faucets after the kitchen was built, so why would we talk about technology after the home is built? It's a part of the process. It's a part of the overall experience. When you come home and you paint the picture of walking into your house and you have lights that make you feel very comfortable in your home, why not automate that experience, right? Is our industry as integral as an electrician? Unfortunately not. A lot of people don't quite know that home technology professionals that are specific to the smart home industry truly exist, and we do. And we're not all electricians, and we're not all security people, and we're not all AV people, but a combination of all of the above. If you're looking for a good home technology provider, one qualification would be that they're CEDIA certified. That's CEDIA. That's my industry trade association that I'm a part of. But other qualifications would be, do they understand what a home network is? And can they provide a good, solid network for the home? Because all of the smart home stuff that we're talking about, especially if we want it to run on a Wi-Fi system, the Wi-Fi has to be great. It has to be everywhere. It has to be robust, and it has to be dynamic for the home users and visitors that come into the home. I think there was another question.
No, that's great. That's great. Let me just follow up, though, with a question about, and this is a question that I get often. Sure. I'm not remodeling my house. I don't have a limitless budget, but I want to bring some smart technology into the home. I often throw out the $1,500 project.
Yeah.
It's a handful of connected devices, but I don't know how to choose them. I don't know how to install them and sync them up. Where does the consumer, the homeowner, turn for that kind of? Is it it an integrator as well?
I would say yes. Our profession is to design the automated home, the home technology experience. And so my specific job in sales is to sit down with my homeowner and ask a barrage of questions similar to what you would ask of your homeowners whenever you're interviewing them and trying to design a kitchen or a bathroom or a house that they want to live in. How many children do you have? Do you have service people come into your home? Do you have pets? Do you work from home? Do you not work at all? Do you vacation a lot or have multiple spaces? What makes you feel great whenever you walk into your house? What concerns you? And Jill, I like that you built this house based on pain points. I mean, starting with the problems that we all have sometimes are great, like the bank of 10 switches that no one wants to see, or the wires that are stringing all over on a home theater space or a space where you want to watch television. I like to be that person that my customers come to and can ask questions of, and then I start with the experience. The product always comes after. Steve Jobs was great in that, and that's how we built and developed Apple. You understand the experience and you apply the technology to it. We've got a question out here in the audience.
With all the different products that they have, and I know all the younger generation is jumping into it, but starting with like the Nest thermostat, and you can do the outdoor lighting, and then the Legrand has their app. So how do you determine if all of these apps, and then you have Alexa and the Echo Dot, and you have all these different components. So how do you know which ones are going to work with the others? I mean, and they're compatible. Because this is I mean, I was a programmer many moons ago, and one of the problems with programming was the fact that you would build linear independent systems, and then you had to build bridges to connect them. So how is these all connected together through the Wi-Fi? I mean, and
Right.
the compatibility is the main question.
No, that's a great question, because I think that's part of the challenge that we face in the industry. As a company, I have to make a decision, just as all of you do, of when I pick a faucet, I have my go-to, and then maybe a second or a third. So for us, we have our home automation platforms. You know, I have 2 that I start with, and then maybe there's a third or a fourth if we have to consider them. But consumers are seeing all of these products. They think maybe I can install them myself. And then this DIY app on top of this app on top of this app, it can get very confusing. There's no silver bullet to answer that question, but I would say that's where a home integrator really comes into play. And a collaborative effort between the design build community and their home technology professional is really what you need to build, because they're your go-to, just like you would go to your cabinet designer, your lighting person, your lighting designer, your outdoor lighting professional, et cetera. That's what we are in our industry. It's a good question, though.
Yeah, great question. Adam, Scott, anything to add on from the designer perspective on this? You know, bringing in the expertise, the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So well, I'm a freelance designer, so I don't sell anything. But I love to bring a client into my office and say, well, first of all, of course, I ask what their needs are, like we all are doing. But I love to say, you know, if you would like to be able to pull into your driveway and have your outdoor lights come on and create a pathway through your garage, down the hallway to the kitchen or pantry, and turn on those lights without having to do anything other than push one button from your car, we can do that, but we need to know that you want it, because we have to do that up front. The infrastructure has to be laid in place. So if any kind of technology is something you desire, and it could be as simple as having hidden speakers in your coffered ceiling so you don't mess up the light pattern, we have to plan ahead. So I will suggest that they go to an integrator right away at the very beginning of design. And they always love when they hear all these things they can do, like I can do that, I can have that pathway. And then also when I'm doing the lighting plan, it makes it much easier on me. Lighting is one of my things. I love doing lighting, but I hate doing switch plans because they're just so tedious. But I just draw the circuits, what I want on what circuit, with an arrow going somewhere else to you. We're in different cities, but and they can figure out where the switch pads and keypads and power supplies are going to go. So it really makes for a seamless design as far as technology. So you really have to bring in the integrator at the beginning.
I would say, as far as other folks on the stage here talking about pain points, I think it's a number one thing to do. Well, I used the 18-page survey from NKBA for kitchen design, and I think we need more. I think there's a whole layer of questions for smart things that are going to happen on top of all the things that we typically survey for to try to really understand our clients. And I mean, you know, I do it in writing, but I also do it, you know, in person too. Sometimes people will put things down in writing that they wouldn't bring up face to face. So I see that as a really big deal, as being able to get as much information on smart things. And I think that smart technology is going to create a whole new level of personalization in kitchens and in homes, because what we're going to do is we're going to allow people a lot more opportunities to, you know, to relate to their space. So I just think that that's a big, big opportunity, and designers are losing some areas of opportunity and income, but this is one that I think is going to continue to grow. So I would agree with everyone here. I think it's a critical part of it. On the other issue of consolidation or integration, on the issue of integration, and I don't think I've got any exciting, hopes for the next couple of years. As a matter of fact, I think I read where there's 200 major players that are going to enter smart home and smart kitchen technology this year alone. It's such a humongous market that there's going to be a lot of people going after it with different products, and I think there's going to be a lot of gadgetry that's just going to be worthless and garbage, and then there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be really cool and worthwhile. And I think that's another area for consulting that designers can be really successful in helping people sort out what's a gadget and what's worthwhile.
Joe, what are you telling your readers? Is the integrator being quoted in traditional home more and more? What's going on?
Well, I think we more so try to highlight the products because it's a national magazine, and everyone is going to come from their different point and their different project. We try to point out the products that are out there that do integrate into homes, and we try to highlight what's smart about that and what problem does it solve and how useful might that be. And particularly from a perspective, if you're building and remodeling and you haven't done that before, or you haven't done it in a long time, and you're going to be buying new appliances anyway, you might think about going one step further and making sure you get something that has some technology in there that you can benefit from later. So I think as far as talking about it that way is the best way. Interestingly, when you were talking about what's going to be a pile of junk someday and what is really going to stay, when we did the survey again, I found it interesting when you broke it down generationally. This gets grossly stereotypical, which I generally don't like to do, but it was data, so that's not stereotypical. Some of the older homeowners surveyed higher, their response rate was higher on the fact that they thought that smart home systems were all very expensive, complicated to install, and they were going to outdate themselves quickly. Because we all remember like jumbo stacks in hidden control rooms in the basement that then condense down into like these tiny little things. So there's some consumers have this perception that you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars and it's all going to be out of date. But then when you ask millennial homeowners what they think, their response rates were so much lower. They see that they understand that smart home technology is easy to personalize, is easy to adapt to. It can be affordable. I'm not worried about it going out of date. And I think the aha moment for me, I love your whole wall acne. My thing is that millennials are the first smart home natives. They are the first generation that has marched into, well, they didn't really march into, they slowly have walked into home ownership with a smartphone in their hand. And they're used to the fact that a new smartphone is going to come out every 2 years, and I'm so gonna have to have that update. And I'm going to be able to understand it because I already understand the phone that's in my hand, and I already understand the apps. Oh, and I realize that my same phone gets updates pushed to that app every few months, and I just click update, and then I have all kinds of new things I can do. And so I think that to me, when we talk about, maybe I'm going to steal something here a little bit, but you can segue it to later, like that where's the heart of the smart home? I almost argue that sometimes it's in your hand. It's wherever you need it to be. And I really enjoyed seeing that difference in that statistic, because I think that all these decisions we're talking about making as millennials and then Gen Zs all move into home ownership, that comfort level with technology and more of an instant grasp of it and how it's useful to you is going to march right along with them through home ownership years. And I think about all the remodeling that's going to happen of all the homes that millennials and then Zs are going to buy, and we're going to remodel that technology right into homes. So I see it as a positive, even though it's confusing.
Yeah, I do want to come to that question of controls, but before we go there, just Adam, I alluded to your aging in place, specialty, which is sort of relates to what we're talking about here. Give us your perspective. Is this technology being deployed to help people stay in their homes longer, as we're all hearing so many of them want to do in growing numbers?
I'll just throw one example out, and it is shower technology. We have electronic shower controls. They can wheel their wheelchair or their walker or whatever it is, push a button, goes to exactly the temperature they want. When they're done lathering, push the button, it stops the water. It just makes things so easy, and that goes for every room in the house.
So this comes with a cost. How do you present this as a worthwhile investment? Do they need convincing, or is the message starting to really get through?
I think if I had to analyze, let's say, the projects for the last 2 years, 90% are employing some sort of technology, even if it's just audio. The expensive shower control, maybe not. Maybe they're not doing that. But if the elderly ones are, they really like that idea. They think that the technology will outlive them sometimes, which may be the case.
Well, that's great. It really is just an enormous, I don't want to say untapped market, but the penetration certainly isn't where it is with millennials. So I think that's exciting for the industry. I'll just take a pause here. And any questions from the crowd on these issues? Yes.
So I'm right outside of DC, and I deal with a lot of clients with very high-level security clearances. So we created an NDA because by building out their network, we're going to have privy to their access points, and access points are possible breach points. My question is, in addition to that, as a firm focusing on smart home technology, what can we do to protect ourselves if a client does have a breach? And having that kind of blow back on us, because even though we're working with a company that does the local networks for the home, I'm still concerned as a client who may not fully understand the realm of the technology that they have, even though that we're trying to explain it to them, that could still come back on us. So what do you suggest in addition to an NDA for firms focusing on smart home technology?
Right.
Yeah, that's a great question. Privacy and security. Jamie, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, no, I had a feeling that one was going to come my way. So just caveat, I'm not a cybersecurity guru. However, as I mentioned, given that we're smart home providers, we own the network. So there are a variety of best practices that your integrator or your technology person should be putting into place to prevent those initial and moderate security threats. There are also stronger measures, routers specifically, certain types of network switch build-outs and configurations that can prevent a lot of the breaches from happening as well. One that I'm thinking of currently, we can name names, right? We named Hayfla, so yeah.
Sure.
FireFX is the company. They came out of the military and created routers and network switches and what have you that pay no attention and actually thwart any threats from 7 of the major countries that tend to try to perpetrate our networks. They also, when you have a system in place with them, if you happen to have a virus on your thumb drive and you pop it into your computer, it eliminates that as well. So it eliminates the threats that you happen to bring home, that your children may bring home, or your guests, or what have you. That's just one company in mind, and there's other ones as well. But again, best practice, don't have your username and password as admin123 on your router. Change it. Make sure when you're broadcasting your SSD, which is your wireless access name, don't make it your address or your name. You don't need to broadcast the Smith residence is located here. Change it up, make it something silly or goofy, and make your password very difficult to remember. I mean, those are some absolute basics, but it's something that we see all the time when your cable provider would set up your network, admin123, password admin123. So you've got to change those initial configurations. And I would imagine your IT professional is doing that, but you might want to check just to make sure.
Great. Something to add, Scott? Go ahead.
A side note, I'm reading that in the very near future that artificial intelligence will be programmed on a chip, which provides a lot more security, especially if the service is a cloud-based service. So just getting back into the DIY stuff for a minute, Google and Amazon are both cloud-based, so the smart speakers from Google and from Amazon are cloud-based, meaning your data goes to the cloud, and you signed a user agreement that says that you're giving up some of the rights to your data. Apple, on the other hand, they're starting with their A11 chip. The artificial intelligence is built into the chip, and this is providing a new level of insurance. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the security, in the very near future.
Thanks, Scott. Just on the best practices, another thing we talk about with our readers is with buying a new home, buying or selling. We're at the point now where a lot of homes already have, existing smart home technology in them. So the importance of, just simply hitting the factory reset when you're selling your home or buying one. I think those best practices are helpful in, creating a sort of comfort level with the client, letting them know that there are things they have some control over this. Of course, there's farther that they can go with, what Scott's alluding to there. But great, thanks for that question. So Scott, let's come back to control. You and I were on a Twitter chat a couple of weeks ago, and the question of wireless speakers came up, and I think I made the point that in a bathroom, people may be a little reluctant to have an always-on speaker, and you made the point that if it's cloud-based versus local, it's a difference. So tell us what you meant specifically, but more broadly, voice control has voice control won the smart home, or are there some other ways that we are going to be interacting and interfacing with this technology?
Thanks, Dan. I don't think anybody has won anything. I don't think it's anywhere near anybody winning anything. But there's some amazing strides, and particularly in the do-it-yourself market. And so I think this is where professionals come in. You have a do-it-yourself market. People don't even realize that all their data they've given up their rights to. So if anybody knows about Amazon getting subpoenaed for a murder trial, and Amazon turned over the data, and the homeowner couldn't say anything because they'd signed a user agreement saying, you can have some of the rights to my data. So I think local is another way, to control things. If you can do something within the home that offers more security than putting it out on a cloud, especially putting it out on a cloud for a company that has asked you to sign over your rights. I have some real issues with that.
And so how do you know? How do I know if it's local or versus cloud-based? Is it something anyone can determine?
Well, you don't have to, put it on. You don't have to put it on your cellular. You can just use your Wi-Fi. Just make it local. Make it a local network.
And to add to that, certain products, security cameras specifically, you can pay for services to where you can access them via the web at any point in time. That's cloud-based. Or you can buy a device that records everything locally in your home. That's local. So through your network, you can access it remotely, but it's secure. Very different than just logging into a website with your username and password to see your cameras that are always streaming to the cloud. So there are two kinds of school of thoughts. Again, it's specific to security cameras, but that gives an idea of a difference between local and cloud-based.
Great, thank you. So Jill, I want to come to you. I mentioned, media. I think there's a lot of designers out there who would love to see their projects featured in Traditional Home or other magazines and websites. Talk to us about, what you're seeing, what you look for, and how the story of the smart home is sort of evolved, within the media.
Yep. I think one of the reasons that we jumped into it at Better Homes and Gardens, and I'm excited to continue it now at Traditional Home with a more of a luxury and affluent audience, is that we didn't see a whole lot of conversation about it in the shelter media world, in the broad decorating kind of a world. And part of the problem we found was that our consumers got kind of turned off by this, I always call it the flux capacitor techie talk, like way over their heads, and that a lot of what is written or talked about is written really from somebody who is really interested in technology and already understands the local versus the cloud thing. Like too many people are back on the basic level. And so we wanted to come at it from a different way. And so rather than doing tech articles, we've tried to come at it from innovation. And that's the way, again, kind of go back to that, what's the pain point? Here's how you can solve it. Here's the solution. Because we can't advise on the perfect system or which platform in any different situation. But if we can raise up what the needs are and what the capacities are to address it, then consumers can go on that search and check out that product and see if it's right for them, or giving them the vocabulary to know what to ask for when they go to the store. The other way that I try to think about it is, as I was mentored by people in the smart home industry, was that sometimes the right piece of technology for you is the one that you understand instantly how to operate it. Like, there are a lot of different beautiful televisions out there that they all have phenomenal screens. Like, really? Pick a 4K. It's all good, right? So I did this myself after getting this advice. We bought the smart TV that had a remote control that had 4 buttons, not 47 buttons, because it hurt my head. And it made me feel like I was not going to even be able to turn on the television unless my 14-year-old was home. Right. I love that smart TV because the picture's great, and I feel confident in running it. So I think about that a lot when I ask people oftentimes on their products, what does your interface look like? If your interface is familiar and to something you already know, like an Apple TV, the interface is familiar to iTunes. Oh, I already know how to get music off of iTunes. I'll get an Apple TV because I'll understand it. No, I'm confident. Like that sometimes that can be the thing that will get someone to make the leap into technology and feel comfortable with it because they're already far less intimidated by it. And that sounds like that's the DIY market. I mean, that's more that area.
Well, and I think that helps to answer the question asked earlier of, has voice control won? And you said it's just really been a year since Amazon's been selling Dots. It's, the hottest product of this year. Well, it's not as familiar to most users to use your voice to turn your lights on or change your music or change the channel on your television. What's familiar is a handheld remote, typically, or something on the wall that you press, typically. So, but as these products add another layer of voice controls, I use my voice control on my Alexa when I have what I call chicken hands in the kitchen. Like, I'm cooking chicken, they're gross, and I need to adjust the light. So that's when I tend to use my Alexa in my home. But exactly, it has to be familiar. It has to be experience-driven, easy and intuitive, and a problem solver. It's one thing to have a great piece of technology, but if it's not being used, why bother, right?
Right. So in terms of pitches, I guess that was kind of what your original question was, we were talking a little bit beforehand about I'm not very often pitched houses that lead with the fact that they have smart technology, or that it's not as much of an accompanying bit of information, because we tend to see things that are beautiful first, style-driven first, and then if I hear anyway, I can't speak for all editors, but if I hear that there is smart technology built in, I really want to know about that so that then I can purposefully instruct my photographer to go and take pictures of the buttons, the panels, and the controls, because otherwise they'll think I don't want that ugly business in my pretty pictures. So I think as the media, we have to hear more from the professionals when that invisible technology is there, and do a better job of incorporating it into the story, the same way that we talk about why they chose the paint color, and the same way about why they did that kitchen layout design, and why they personalized their wine cellar. And we have to make that a part of the personalization and design story.
Thanks, Jill. So yeah, certainly media is one place consumers can go to learn more. What are some other things that are happening in the industry to sort of bridge the awareness gap, which I think continues to be maybe the biggest challenge with a mass market smart home adoption? Are you guys seeing things or doing things?
What I would say is that there's this fear that homeowners need to overcome, that the technology is scary, just like you were saying, Jill. So when I explain to them, just go hear the pitch from the integrator, one of the integrators I like, and let them show you the interface and how it's not really any different. All you're doing is choosing a system that you want to control. You're going to hit the thermostat button, and it's going to look like a thermostat. Or you're going to hit the audio button, it's going to give you some choices. You want Sirius XM, you want to play your music from your phone. It's really not something to be afraid of, and I think getting consumers to understand that it's it's becoming more and more intuitive is really the biggest hurdle I'm having. And once they embrace that, they're all for it.
So we heard from Scott, your lighting, it was what you call it, the gateway drug.
The gateway drug.
For me, I said the smoke alarm. What about the rest of you? Is there a single product, if you're trying to sell that client on this technology, that you would push them towards?
It's lighting for me, and truly it's because it's so functional and it's something that you do touch and interact with every day. I think that's why it's so important, not just in kitchen and bath, but throughout the whole home. So.
Yeah, lighting is number one for me. Sound, I'm a former professional musician, so I love to have music everywhere, so I'll always kind of throw that out there. And once they have it, they love it.
Jill, did you have a favorite from that project? Was there a favorite? You talked about the mattress. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I want that mattress anyway, but I think I really enjoyed seeing I was really impressed with the windows in that situation because it was so beautifully done. They were gorgeous windows. All the cell shade operations were all operated off of batteries that were solar recharged, so nothing had to be hardwired for that. And you could not only get that beautiful sun control and that privacy, but it kind of wrapped all of that into one thing, and you had the whole house that way. I thought was just a smart way to build a house. I am myself in a relationship with Alexa. We're getting to know each other. I got a Dot not too long ago, and sometimes we unplug it from the wall. I can say this in the design community because for a while at Traditional Home, I was working on a project with Alexa Hampton, and every time I talked about that project at the kitchen table, Alexa the Dot thought she could participate. So I had to unplug that for a while because I have a little bit of you have a bit of a security fear with what we've signed away to what's going on in the home. But I would love for my 88-year-old father to have a Dot because he can't move his head, he can't move his arms above his elbow height because of severe arthritis in his shoulders. So he can't change the thermostat. He can't even use a hand shower to shower. I just think that he could benefit so much from what he could voice control with the television and with a thermostat.
Absolutely.
And just the little things in his life that take a lot of energy repeatedly through the day. So I think and he's probably not a really strong, his cloud security is probably going to be fine. So I think he's probably okay.
Well, and that kind of speaks to your question earlier, Dan, right, about aging in place and does this add value to those people that want to live in their home longer? Absolutely. I mean, right now I sell mostly out of convenience and want and desire, but fast forward 30 years when I'm in my home, who wouldn't want a sleep button to press a button and it shuts your garage door, turns your lights off, adjusts your thermostat, locks your doors? All of those steps that as you age or if you're disabled or what have you, it just adds so much convenience, but quality of life at that point too.
Yeah. That was one other little thing in the survey that we noticed was that over the years in the tracking survey, as people began to understand more about smart technology, we always, for years, have thought about security. I always think ADT, keeping the bad guys out, the black stocking caps and broken windows, and that's what security meant for home. But we can tell through the surveys that we do that now security is as much peace of mind of what's going on inside the house rather than just breaching the perimeter. That is knowing what's going on inside is our new era of security, to your point with the air quality, that what we know. And I think it'd be so cool to think about a day, like how you can get the programs together that Google already knows when I pull out of the parking ramp at night, the same time at night, and it tells me that it's 22 minutes until I get home. And I can't wait for the day that the garage door actually just opens for me because it knows that I'm within the threshold.
That day is now.
That day is now.
Yeah.
I just haven't bought it. My husband works at home. He's there.
There's your next story, Joe.
That's
dreaming about
old
it,
school voice control when you can call your husband and say, "Hey, can you turn that on for me?"
I do that all the time. I voice text him.
So we only have a few minutes left. Yes, question.
Before you get that mic, I'll just say my daughter has a friend named Alexa too. So we renamed our whatever the device is called to Echo. So now we just say Echo. We don't have to worry about when Alexa comes over, because it was pretty annoying.
That's really smart.
I just wanted to go off that point. For designers like myself, is Cedia the best resource to learn about the garage opens by itself? I had no idea. How do I kind of learn more about what is now instead of what is past?
Sure. Well, CEDIA is a trade association, so it's like the NKBA is to you. But yeah, they have a great consumer-facing website that has a lot of information about what's possible today. There's also a finder service where you can punch in your zip code and find an integrator like myself who's local to your area. I would start with them. Once you kind of learn some of the basics, visit a few websites, but really for a true collaborative relationship and to start building that, what's available in my market and who can provide it, call a few people, research, visit some of their homes, call their clients, look at their pictures of their projects. You'll be able to see who would be a good partner to create a relationship with.
Yeah, certainly Cedia. I mean, I'm seeing more and more, retailers really getting into the space, having, in-store consultations, that sort of thing. So that's another option. I'd be remiss not to mention HomeAdvisor has some has some information on smart home as well. So any other questions from the crowd? One more? Yeah.
So would you say that lighting is the best in terms of money? It's the best bang for the buck in terms of savings in smart technology?
In terms of savings?
Value, maybe?
Value. Yeah, better value, yeah. Personally, yes. Because we all have lights in our home. We all have either dumb switches or smart switches, or dumb dimmers or smart dimmers. Mm-hmm. It's a familiar thing to change. It's not difficult or expensive to start small. Yeah. You don't even need an electrician if you just start with lamps. Yeah. And there's a variety of products out there. Right. There's a variety of products where you can just change the bulb, download an app. Now you can control that. That's a little more techy in many instances. But if you're thinking of smart home technology and you want a true bang for the buck, I also say address your home network. Get Wi-Fi where you need it. Yeah. And all of our systems will do a private account. That's what lives on your own home, and then a guest account. So if you have friends come over, you give them a guest network. It doesn't affect your private network. Right. Wi-Fi it's a driver of so many things these days. So once you have that everywhere, you would access it. Now you have the ability to add those wireless components if you'd like to in those areas where you need to.
Another point I just wanted to point out is you were talking about aging in place, and people living as long as they can independently in their own home. And I think another component of that would be that you could share a code, and that children can then access their parents' home in any kind of an emergency without having to go to, depending upon the circumstances, losing a key or just putting in their own code.
Movement sensors are amazing for that, like little sensors on cabinet doors, so you know whether the medicine cabinet door was opened that day or not. Has there even been movement in the house? Was there movement in the morning? Did the person get out of bed? You can tell. Did they go into the kitchen or the bathroom? Like you can get those knowledge points, and if they'll let you have the access.
That's great. I think we are just about out of time. I just want to end on, by way of sort of closing thoughts here, sort of prediction. So was Mashable right? Is the smart home here, or are we still, are we still waiting? Jamie, what do you think?
Well, that kind of starts with all of you lovely people out in the audience. If you're willing to adopt and ask the right questions, I say yes. If you're hesitant and scared, then the brakes are still being pumped. But I think we're entering a dawn where there's going to be a fair amount of confusion. Like you said, a whole lot of products on the market. The capacity is here. The technology is here. It's whether or not you choose to recommend it and whether or not your buyers have any value in it.
Well, the fact that we're even having this discussion and it's a full house, I think, goes to show that there's a long way to go. We're at just the beginning. I like that you said dawn of a new era.
I agree. I think that, it's smart homes and smart tech has been kind of hanging out there for probably 4 or 5 years. Everybody knew it was coming, and I think that smart speakers have kind of carried it through the chasm into mainstream. But I really feel like this is day one. So I would encourage anybody to learn as much as you can. I don't think there's any really great experts on everything. So there's a lot of room for opportunity for designers to take a hold of different parts and pieces.
Just getting started. I think about the time we feel confident in what we think we understand, there'll be something whole completely new and different. Like that, this is a never-ending pursuit of engineering and understanding and technology. It's not, it'll keep going.
I think you're all right. And on behalf of HomeAdvisor, I think that's the reason they, created the Smart Home Strategist role that I'm in. So I'm happy to be in it. But yeah, certainly a ways to go. Great. Well, on behalf of everyone up here, HomeAdvisor, KBIS, the next stage. Thank you all for coming out. Hopefully you had some good takeaways from today's conversation. I think we're all going to be around for a little while. I know I will be. So please come up and say hello and ask more questions if you have them. Thank you.